You can't build a big business without spending money on creativity and branding. But on the flip side, if you're not looking at the data, you can waste a lot of money. So when you do a combination of both, that's where you really see the good growth.
Where does someone start in marketing?
This is really simple. Think of it like spaghetti. Throw it against the wall. The channels and the tactics and the strategies that are working the best are the ones that are sticking. The ideal way that you should be hiring an agency, whether it's for SEO or paid ads or anything else, is you go look for an agency who's produced results within your exact industry. Not once, not twice, but many times.
Hi, I'm Moshe Popak, and welcome to Common Denominator. Today we speak with Neil Patel. Neil is quite simply a marketing guru. He's a New York Times best-selling author. The Wall Street Journal calls him a top influencer on the web. Forbes says he's one of the country's top 10 marketers, and Entrepreneur magazine says he created one of the 100 most brilliant companies. He's helped Amazon, Microsoft, Google, General Motors, and many more scale through marketing, and now he's here to help you. Hi, Neil, and welcome to Common Denominator.
Thanks for having me.
I always find people that have success, it always comes from a place of passion. You have tremendous success in the marketing space. What is it? Is the X factor of love that you have, building brands, building people? Where does that come from?
I honestly don't know. I tried a lot of different types of businesses over the years, but for some reason I'm addicted to marketing like it's some sort of drug. Never really took drugs as a kid, but you get the point. I'm just addicted to it. And I don't know why, but I just love watching things like sales go up or traffic go up or conversions go up. And whether I'm helping a small mom and pop or a large enterprise, watching those numbers is just adrenaline rush for me.
It's really something special. I mean, I'm speaking to a lot of people, and I know nothing. I'm a real estate guy, but talking about artificial intelligence, it's very general and abstract. When it comes to marketing, how do you think that that's going to affect the marketing space, social media, and what should business people be thinking about right now?
Yeah, so with the AI space, when you think about marketing and business, it's going to help automate a lot of systems and processes, just make things more efficient. Everyone eventually is going to have like an AI assistant or a buddy right next to them that's going to help them become better, more efficient, more accurate. You're going to start seeing tasks be completed quicker, so that way people can spend more time on strategy and creative work. But I think it's actually going to benefit the industry as a whole. Yes, some people may end up losing jobs from it, and they probably will. There'll also be new jobs created because of AI. But net, I think you're going to have a much better output and a faster output, which is going to start making execution a lot quicker for businesses and allow them to see results quicker.
And the content creators, are they just basically going to be made from AI that you're actually not going to need real people?
So many people will disagree with me on this, okay? You and I are here right now doing this podcast. It's real. There's no AI. This connection that we are creating, the connection that people have watching, I personally don't believe they're going to get that when it's AI. Now, you can record yourself using tools like HeyGen, and then you can input a prompt and create a video that based on you, and it's going to look like you, and it can be in any different language, and it's close to accurate. It's not 100%, but it's close. It's just not real. And when we look at the AI content on social, it doesn't do as well as the human created content, just from everything that we're seeing. And then if you want to talk about text-based content, we ran an experiment with 744 articles, I believe on 68 websites, half AI, half human written. The human written content after, I believe it was like 5 months or 6 months, got 5.44x more traffic than the AI one, right? It just shows that people prefer human written content. And AI content will get better over time, but it's like people are talking about automating everything, like including sales. And yeah, you could save money, but when I'm talking to customer support or I'm talking to someone about sales, at least for a high ticket item, I do not want AI. I want a human. And when you're talking about, customer support, I was on with, I think it was Bank of America or one of these platforms for my Visa card. And I just needed a new card because it expired. And I was like, why does my card keep getting declined? And then I quickly realized it was expired. And it was a month plus expired. And I was like, and I barely used the card, but I was just like, what the heck? Calling Bank of America hotline on the back of my Alaska Airlines Visa card. And it took me forever. And they're using this AI intelligence, system. And I'm like, dude, just give me a new card. I didn't find it in the mail. And I think I waited like 15, 20 minutes just to get a hold of someone because their AI system wanted to help me out.
I think also an X factor of like, even if it's digital, or like you're saying, you and I are live, there's an underlying human connection, like a subconscious, right? That the emotion of it, whatever it is, high, low, middle, but people want to experience that and live vicariously through that. Same thing, you have a rock band, like making real music. I know I was sitting with a friend the other day, and he has rights to certain songs and singers, and he was saying that AI is trying to make the music, but it's not the same. It's music has to come from people. But I did see something interesting as far as movies. Like Tyler Perry was planning on expanding his studios in Atlanta, right? And then he stopped, right? You saw that, right? Because he's like, I see what's going on with AI. I even thought about, from the real estate space to open movie studios here in Miami. It's a tough business proposition. Besides, Florida doesn't have tax incentives, but that's going to be interesting. So we'll see. I guess we'll see how that goes.
But let's take a real estate lens on this for a minute, okay? You're in real estate. There's a lack of construction workers to build homes in the United States. There has been for a while. There's actually a lack of housing. You're going to start seeing 3D printed housing or AI created housing and assembly line, and it'll do well. People will buy it. But you're in Miami, Florida. And I'm not saying this technology won't change real estate. There's also people who want a home, a custom built home, where you're seeing a lot of it in Miami, which is a very affluent city, and there's a lot of rich people there. You have Star Island and a lot of other places where the homes are just outrageously expensive. Those people will still want a custom home. Maybe you're using some AI technology to help speed up the process so it doesn't take 2 years to build, a year for permitting, so you're at 3 years. Maybe it dwindles down the process to 2 years and you can move in instead of 3, including permitting process, right? But people will still want custom. They'll still want a human to come in and paint things as the way they want or decorate it the way they want. I think AI is going to change the world, but it's not going to replace everything. And I think people are going to extreme being like, in 5 years, we're going to be at a point where AI is smarter than everyone and it's going to do marketing better. Well, okay, if you're telling AI to do marketing for 5 million companies out there, how's it going to really do it different for everyone, right? Some of the thought processes I have are going to be different than the computer has. And where I think AI is going to replace a lot of stuff, it's going to replace a lot of average and mediocre people and their thought process, to be blunt. I know it sounds bad, but just to be blunt, I think the top tier people, the top 1%, I'm not talking about income, I'm talking about intellect, creativity, etc. they'll be more valuable, they'll get paid more, and with AI, they'll even become better.
I know for myself, I'm planning on going this week to go get vinyl records and a vinyl record player. You know, right? We're seeing all this. I love music, right? So it's like I want to experience, that difference. I always, again, because marketing is abstract for me in my mind. Do you find that it's more creative or more analytical when it comes to getting marketing right?
It's a mixture of both. You really do need both. It's not one or the other. Some people say you gotta follow all the data. Yeah, and some people say you gotta just focus on the brand and ignore the data. But I can tell you a combination of both is the right methodology. You can't build a big business without spending money on creativity and branding. EX Nike, right? Tesla, Coca-Cola. It's done tremendously well for a lot of brands out there. And people aren't just Googling to buy their products. They just know their brand because they've been around so long and they've been consistent with their messaging and how they're leveraging creatives out there, right? But on the flip side, if you're not looking at the data, you can waste a lot of money. So when you do a combination of both, that's where you really see the good growth.
And it's a very unique talent because I know for me, I was more right-brained, more kind of, I guess, more analytical for a long time, but then you also have to develop the creative side. It's very unique to find that in both, right? You can have, just in general in society, the creative type, but then bottom line grinding, sustainable numbers, analytics, that's a very unique talent to be able to have, both sides over a long period of time to make sure something actually happens. Let's just take marketing, for example. It's a hard thing, but I think that strengths and weaknesses, right? If you have two partners in a business, one could be the creative, one could be the analytical, and you could put them together. It probably makes a big difference.
Totally agree. Like, I'm more data driven. It is hard for me to be as creative as some of those people who are just really good at, thinking outside the box. But on the flip side, they struggle with the data and the analytics side. And I think what you find is some people can do both, and I can do both, but I'm still stronger on the data and the analytics side. But you combine individuals who complement each other and you'll see much better results in marketing. And I think that's with most things.
I think it's interesting from your perspective, because I had this post where I said, if someone could show me on the back of a napkin the concept, right? Because that's what investors and people in business, right? You have to know the analytics first, then you could tweak within the creative, right? So you're super successful. What's your strength? It's the numbers, right? The numbers never lie. Good or bad, that's a good base to start from,
Yes.
So I see that.
But in business and marketing, you're totally right. The numbers don't lie, but they also don't always tell the full story. And some people in marketing expect the numbers to tell them everything. And sometimes you just need a little bit more time for the numbers to really tell the story.
And let's say someone's starting out, right? There's all these different platforms. How would they know which platform to go on and where do they start? Where does someone start in marketing?
This is really simple. Think of it like spaghetti. I was once told when I was a little kid, I've never tried this. You throw spaghetti against the wall, if it sticks, it's cooked. All right? Think of your marketing. You have all these different channels out there. Think of them as spaghetti noodles or strings or whatever they're called. Throw it against the wall. The channels and the tactics and the strategies that are working the best are the ones that are sticking. Double down on those, because at the beginning, especially when you're strapped with resources and time and money, right? You can't do everything. So do the ones that are already getting traction, the ones that are AKA sticking, double down on those. And then once you nailed them, you scaled them and they're doing better, then go after the ones that fell off onto the ground and did not stick because they weren't ready yet. So you go after the low-hanging fruit first, and then you go and you tackle the harder channels next. Now, the easiest way to figure out the low-hanging fruit is not actually by throwing spaghetti on the wall. It's more so you see what channels your competitors are leveraging the most. Tools like Ubersuggest, Answer the Public help with this. You can just browse your competition, their websites, browse the internet, see what they're up to. Start with those channels because they're probably most likely to perform well within your industry, and then double down on the others later on.
I always think of that I wish the education system was that way, right? So you have any class, 20 kids, 25 kids, right? And again, it's that strengths and weaknesses, right? If you don't know English, like I wasn't good at reading, I was much better at math. So it's like just focus on the things that you're good at, and I'm sure you're also passionate about because it comes easier. But in the system, right, it makes you like focus on many different things.
Yeah, and you got to get the basic fundamentals right, but you're totally spot on. School teaches you to try to be a jack of all trades, which is not going to happen. You're not going to be the best at everything. Instead of just doubling down and focusing what you're good at, because that's the real corporate world. But you do need a basic knowledge of things like math, reading, writing, etc. But still, I'm with you. Double down on what you're really amazing at.
I might have mentioned this on the show before. Fellow's worth almost $10 billion. I sat with him. He's like over 80 years old. And that's the word that he said exactly what you're saying. I said, what's the X factor? All this time, been through many generations of business. Focus. That's it. It's focus, do the action. Problems are going to come up. Things are going to come up. And as long as you're still in the game, over time, that energy, over time, that's what he told me. He's like, that focus will make the difference. You've been doing this a long time, and you just have to look back at your results. I know for myself, just like in the SEO space, I've gotten that wrong. I've hired outside companies. I've spent a ton of money on SEO. What is a good, efficient way? If you're a small business and you want to start, finding somebody, how do you judge them whether they're good or bad at getting, again, results, right? Reverse engineering. How do you find somebody? They're charging for that. They're charging for the ads. It's unknown.
So what most people do is they say, let me go and find someone who can do SEO and rank a website. And then they show you, look at these sites that I ranked, you should pay me. And then that salesperson makes the business owner feel comfortable, and then they hire them. The ideal way that you should be hiring an agency, whether it's for SEO or paid ads or anything else, is I'm looking for better rankings on Google. I'm in a specific industry. Let's say you're in real estate or home services or a car dealership or software, whatever it may be. You go look for an agency who's produced results within your exact industry. Not once, not twice, but many times. Not only can they show you the case studies, but they can point to referrals like phone calls and all this kind of stuff. So that way you know that they're good in your space and producing results for it. Then from there, you can't just hire. You need to find out who were the exact people on that account that produced the results for X, Y, and Z company that you showed me that's in my space. They may not be a direct competitor, but they're in my space. And then you're like, I want those people on my account. That's how you produce the high success rate of hiring an agency.
That sounds very logical, and that's you speaking from clarity. And if you apply that, right, if you apply that in all areas of issues, meaning reverse engineer, break out, right? This is something that I want to do. Break out the issues, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Find out who did it most recently, who did the best, smash them together, right? And that will have, just like you're saying from an analytical standpoint, statistically, the best odds of success. But I don't think that most people know how to issue spot and problem solve. But I really definitely appreciate that. And I know you talk a lot about a logo, a business's logo. Why is that so important?
A logo is so important because when your brand's out there, right, and people constantly see it, you want to think about your company when they see or feel a certain way. And when I say see or feel a certain way, I'm not talking about seeing your actual logo. I'm talking about when they see something in this world. You want them to think about your company, your brand, your logo. So, for example of this, let's say we all know the Apple logo. I have the iPhone right here, Apple logo on the back. All right. When I see stuff like articles like about robots in a home that clean and do all that kind of housework stuff, so you don't necessarily need a housekeeper. And there's companies actually building one, and I saw one the other day. And it's more so working on at the BMW car factory. I don't know which car factory because they have tons of them, and it's helping assemble cars. It's actual robots that are like humans. The first thing that comes to my mind is I can't wait for Apple to create this product, right? That branding that they created, not just the logo, their identity, the messaging that they put across for many, many years. It makes me think when I have something in my house, when I'm using something personally, I can trust Apple for hardware technology. It'll create amazing user experience and it'll do the job really well done, right? That's ideally what you want to create when someone interacts with your brand, your logo, your messaging, your tagline. And you are not going to get as far as Apple, where I'm thinking about a robot and I'm like, oh, I can't wait for Apple to do this or Apple to release a car, whatever it may be. But it's more so when they have a problem related to your space, you want them to think about your logo. Apple's the gold standard, but who knows? Eventually you may get there.
I'm thinking about to the halftime show at the Super Bowl. You know, the Apple Music, and I'm thinking about my emotion. Just to your point, it's like if you can, again, get to that point where it triggers that emotion, because I also do believe that I've heard that a lot. People are willing to overpay if it fulfills an emotion. So if you can get that for people, that would be tremendous. So I want to say congratulations because, your blog, YouTube, all your social, it's really a tremendous millions of views across many, many platforms. How long, just curious, how long did you start this and what was the headspace? Because I want to go back, I always like to go back and give the audience what was going on in your mind like day one when you started, and what is the thing that you're most proud of?
When I started day one, I couldn't afford to push out tons of ads on the internet to attract customers. I just started creating goodwill and content of like maybe one day people will hire our company. And that was the headspace that I was in when I started creating content on the internet. And it ended up working out. I didn't know if it was going to work out, being blunt, but it did work out. And right timing, right place. And I was willing to take the initiative and be consistent and push out for many years before I saw $1 in revenue. Now, when I look at my biggest success, I don't think it's marketing related from an aspect of driving results to people or growing my personal brand. We've done great on the client end. I've done decent on the branding end. But I wouldn't consider any of those my major successes. I would say the biggest success that I have, in my opinion, is from a business standpoint, just hiring a lot of people, creating jobs. We have over 1,000 people. It helps put food on the table for a lot of homes. I'm happy about that. And then the biggest personal thing that I'm proud of is just family and kids, and hopefully they'll turn out right, which you never know, but I'm trying.
I was with a fellow yesterday. I'd probably say a couple times billionaire. And he said, it's similar when you find that you've seen so much and you talk about your family and you talk about the jobs and the people and the community. He was saying that it's all just love. It's basically, you're going through all the insanity, fine, up and down, the money comes in, the things, none of that. It's you to your wife or the people you love and to your children, and it's just about giving in the end. So I love that you express it that way. And when you talk also about the consistency. So how does someone, in the beginning, it's just like being consistent. You have such a belief in yourself. You're going to do it. You're going to be stubborn. How do they go about like paying their bills while you're saying, years are going by, you're not making money? What's like a hack to like figure that part out?
You're talking about for the future generations to get them to pay their
I'm
bills?
saying it's like what you did, right? It took you years, right? You're not seeing any revenue, like you were saying, like when you started out, were you just living in I wouldn't say that's extreme, but I've heard stories, people living in their car, living on 50 cents.
No, I was lucky. My parents were middle class for most of my life. They were lower class, during my earlier years of life, but they're middle class. And what they did for me was they said, you focus on your work and you can just live with us and you have a 18-year-old car that works and you have food on the table and we'll do your laundry and cleaning and you just go focus on education and work. And I had great parents. And it's people always ask, when you have kids, would you leave them with nothing and force them to earn it all over again? Yeah, I don't think you need to give them everything in this world to make them lazy, but at the same time, if you can give them the basic necessities, like at least provide food, shelter, a car. I'm not talking about a Ferrari or anything like that. I'm talking about a used Toyota or something like that. So that way they can focus on their passion and do what they love doing versus just being forced into the quote unquote rat race. Why not?
Yeah, right. I think parents have to help the kids, ask lots of questions to help them find their passion, and then set them on their way. I've seen that. So you're very fortunate, and I would give that advice over and over to many parents and many kids that are starting out, to just keep your expenses low, live at home, do what you gotta do. So for sure. And how would people, let's say someone wants to work with you, just technically, how would they, are you taking on like personal clients, personal brands, businesses at this point?
We work with a lot of corporations, a lot of enterprise, like publicly traded companies, and they just go to like NP Digital, fill out a contact request, and someone gets in touch with them.
It's really good. Yeah, it's I love having this interview because for me, again, coming into the interview, the marketing ideas were very abstract, and you're very clear in this space over years. It really makes a lot of sense. So Neil, tell me, looking back now at your life, what is something that you're deeply grateful for?
Good family. I meet a lot of people, they're not close with their parents, they don't see them often, or their siblings, and they're upset about something. And they don't realize when that other person passes away, they're going to regret it. Instead of like just being okay with the little things and just moving on and just accepting them, because no one's perfect. But I had a really strong family relationship. I still do, which has helped me get to where I am today. I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking about emotionally, being content in life. Parents taught me things like money isn't everything, or they also taught me things like, respect people no matter what they do. They taught me the value of a hard-earned dollar. When times are great, yeah, you can spend, but what goes up comes down as well. Apple didn't just continue to climb up and to the right, and nor did Amazon, and nor did Microsoft or even Google. A lot of these businesses had their ups and downs, and just understanding that you need to save for rainy days. But my family, not only were they really close with me, and they still are, they taught me a lot of valuable life lessons along the way.
Also, what would you say is the common denominator of a business, company, individual that gets the marketing right? What do you say that's the magic sauce? What are they doing?
Experimentation. What worked for you and what will work for me in real estate won't always be the same. And I know, I'm not in real estate, but real estate has things like location, timing, maybe the cost of materials is lower. I'll give you a great example of this. It was either during the interview or before we started, you talked about the fires here in Los Angeles. Next year, when people start rebuilding, sometime in 2026, there's going to be a shortage of materials, construction workers, and pricing is going to be through the roof. It's just sad, right? Someone could get lucky and be like, I'm building a house right now and I can just flip it in a year and a half and I'll make a killing in one of these neighborhoods, right? Someone could end up doing that. A lot of that is luck and right timing. And if I was in real estate, which I'm not, I can't easily replicate what my competitor just did, right? And I don't think people should be taking advantage of others who are misfortunate, but I'm just giving you an extreme example that even if you're in the same space, there's a lot of different variables. The real way to succeed is you continue to experiment and try new things because it's how you uncover new channels and methods and strategies that actually work and produce results.
I think of it in the same vein, pivoting. You have to expect, in other words, if you have grand dreams, if you have big dreams, 100% of the time, there will be need for experimentation, there will be need for pivoting. 100% of the time, failure will happen. Expect it, see it, continue to pivot and move. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it, but as long as you win more than you lose. So I've seen that for sure. I want to say thank you, really, Neil. Not on behalf of myself, behalf of the audience. It's really been great. How can people follow you on social, follow your podcast, and be in touch?
Neil Patel. That's all my social handles. My ad agency is NP Digital. But, I just appreciate you taking the time and interviewing me. And for everyone listening, thank you for listening to us for 30-ish minutes. I know everyone has a busy day.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Neil. Before we say goodbye, if you haven't already, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribing ensures you never miss an episode, and it helps us continue to bring you meaningful conversations that make a difference. Thank you for being part of our growing community. We couldn't do this without you. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.